The story begins with Seo Rin-ha, a renowned actress known for her extraordinary beauty and acting prowess. She is admired by many for her captivating performances on both stage and screen, effortlessly bringing complex characters to life. Seo Rin-ha's fame and talent have earned her numerous trophies, solidifying her position as a top star. Seo Rin-ha is surrounded by snow and a chilling coldness, perplexed by her unfamiliar surroundings on a snowy mountain. Confusion engulfs her as she tries to comprehend why she is in this wintry forest, dressed in inadequate clothing that offers little protection from the freezing temperatures. Only hours earlier, she had been preparing to shoot a scene near a cliff for a film. The set was meticulously arranged with cameras, chairs, and other equipment. Despite her manager suggesting the use of a body double for the risky scene, Seo Rin-ha had rejected the idea. Determined to challenge herself and earn more accolades, she had opted to perform the dangerous stunt herself. The anticipation and tension she felt were palpable, though she concealed it well. Taking a deep breath to calm her nerves, Seo Rin-ha reassured herself that the necessary safety precautions had been taken. However, in a split second, an unexpected gust of wind disrupted everything. A safety device was unexpectedly dislodged by the powerful wind, causing Seo Rin-ha to lose her balance and plummet off the cliff. In her desperate attempt to grasp onto something, she reached out for her manager's hand, who frantically shouted in vain. But it was too late. Seo Rin-ha's fate seemed sealed as she descended into the unknown depths. To her bewilderment, she finds herself in a forest upon landing, contrary to her expectations of being submerged in the sea after the cliff jump. The absence of trees in her intended landing location perplexes her further. Moreover, despite it being summer, the raw, biting wind penetrates her thin clothes, intensifying her discomfort. Despite the pain she endured, Seo Rin-ha mustered the strength to raise her body and assess her surroundings. As she sat up, she realized that her physical condition was better than she had anticipated. Suddenly, she heard approaching footsteps, growing louder with each passing moment. Reacting swiftly, Seo Rin-ha turned her attention towards the sound, only to be taken aback by what she saw. The noise was not coming from a person but from a monstrous creature, towering like a building. It possessed features reminiscent of both a crocodile and a dragon, with its body covered in split skin. The sharp claws on its hoofed feet lunged menacingly towards Seo Rin-ha, leaving her perplexed and startled. Gasping for breath, Seo Rin-ha instinctively attempted to dodge the creature's attack, but her efforts proved futile. The monster, stronger and faster, swiftly closed the distance between them, leaving her defenseless. However, in a flash of white light, a gust of wind swept through the area. Instead of feeling the searing pain of the monster's claws, she heard the terrifying sound of leather tearing. Opening her eyes in astonishment, Seo Rin-ha was met with the sight of a night sky adorned with 3 gleaming moons. The dark blue expanse was sliced through by a sharp silver division, and it was in this surreal setting that she witnessed the monster being struck down. Grotesque screams echoed through the air as the mysterious man before her, his cloak billowing in the wind, wielded a combination of swords that shimmered under the moonlight, turning the creature into nothing more than a mangled mass of flesh. Seo Rin-ha couldn't help but feel that the man before her wasn't an actor. His presence exuded power, and the defeat of the monstrous creature solidified the fact that this was no act. As he slowly approached her, Seo Rin-ha found herself rendered speechless, overwhelmed by the unbelievable situation she had found herself in. Struggling to lift her trembling body, Seo Rin-ha fought against the shock that gripped her legs. The silver-haired man, inching closer, opened his mouth to speak. However, Seo Rin-ha couldn't comprehend a single word he uttered. The man continued speaking, but his words remained incomprehensible to her. An unsettling feeling began to settle within her. She recalled stories of dimensional shifts, but she never thought they could apply to her. Despite having traveled the world due to her career, the language the man spoke was entirely unfamiliar to her. A shiver ran down Seo Rin-ha's spine. The place and weather were unlike anything she had encountered before, and the existence of the monster and the enigmatic man only deepened her disbelief. Dimensional shift or not, she found it difficult to accept. Moreover, the man's appearance was entirely unique. His white, moon-like skin, grayish hair, and eyes were mysterious and couldn't be replicated with mere cosmetics or contact lenses. Seo Rin-ha contemplated that such occurrences only happened in novels and movies. This confirmed her suspicion that she had indeed entered a different world, causing goosebumps to rise on her forearms and neck. As she pondered her circumstances, the man extended his hand to her. Though he had saved her life, Seo Rin-ha couldn't help but harbor suspicion regarding his intentions. Hesitating momentarily, she eventually decided it was best to listen to him quietly. She reached out her hand to him. To her surprise, the man retrieved a metal ring from his pocket and placed it on Seo Rin-ha's wrist. The slender metal bracelet tightened around her forearm. Perplexed, she looked down at her wrist and exclaimed, "Wow, what is this?" Her words stumbled out in the unfamiliar language. When she looked back up at the man, his expression held a trace of amusement. Seo Rin-ha mimicked his words, gradually understanding the language he spoke. It seemed that the translation device was functioning, allowing her to comprehend his every word. With this revelation, Seo Rin-ha regained her senses. Hearing the man's cold voice, she realized that she had indeed crossed over to another dimension. She wondered if there were tools available to assist with interpretation, given the circumstances. With a mix of confusion and curiosity, she asked, "Where are we? Who am I?" The man's gaze shifted towards Seo Rin-ha, and instead of providing direct answers, he posed a question of his own. "Would you even know where this is?" he asked. Seo Rin-ha couldn't help but admit, "I wouldn't." The man then continued, "And I think you can answer your second question." Seo Rin-ha realized the foolishness of her inquiry, considering the situation at hand. "I suppose so," she replied, acknowledging that she was indeed a human from a different world. The man's calm demeanor and his nonchalant act of fitting the interpreter on her wrist indicated that he was familiar with such dimensional shifts. His composed and indifferent attitude suggested that he had encountered similar situations before. Seo Rin-ha couldn't help but internally complain about the man's attitude. As the man proceeded to clean up the remains of the defeated monster, seemingly forgetting Seo Rin-ha's presence, she realized she had to stick close to him until she could ensure her safety. Approaching him with a gentle demeanor, she wore an actress's smile that he couldn't refuse. "So, are you a knight or someone who fights monsters here?" she asked, trying to gather more information and understand her new surroundings. The man let out a chilling giggle, further dropping the ambient temperature. Seo Rin-ha couldn't help but find his laughter unsettling. As an avid reader of romance fantasy novels, she began to associate the man's characteristics with those of a northern duke. A cold expression devoid of friendliness, a chilling appearance, combat skills capable of dispatching monsters with a single blow, and a general rudeness towards people of all backgrounds. These were the typical traits of a male character in the genre she loved. To her astonishment, the man revealed himself as Kalcion Lenbird, the leader of the Lenbird family, the Master of the North, and the Duke of the Ark. Seo Rin-ha marveled at how accurate her intuition had been. She introduced herself as Selena, choosing to use a different name to avoid standing out too much and potential pronunciation difficulties. With a smile, Selena extended her hand, treating their meeting as she would with someone new. Uncertain of the etiquette in this new world, she contemplated whether she should show extra politeness as he was a duke. However, before she could decide, Kalcion took her hand and placed a brief kiss on it. Selena was taken aback, her mouth frozen in surprise. Although this gesture was common in the world she came from, it was unexpected from someone like the Northern Duke, who seemed more adept at cutting things than engaging in formalities. The greeting was short and perfunctory, just a formality. Kalcion raised his head and smiled curiously, causing Selena to blush at the unexpected display from the typically cold Duke. She realized that she might still be a bit lightheaded from the previous events. The greeting she offered was intended as a handshake, as she would do at awards ceremonies or similar events. It seemed that even greetings differed between worlds. "It seems you are a commoner, but you possess a noble spirit," Kalcion remarked, noting Selena's attire, which resembled that of a tragic heroine who had fallen into poverty. Selena explained that in the world she came from, there was no distinction or hierarchy. Among people, they were all considered equals. Kalcion appeared disappointed and momentarily lost for words at her response. "Did you expect me to be an aristocrat? That way, you would be more useful to me," he questioned, causing an ominous feeling to wash over Selena. She sensed that she was about to discover the reason behind her rescue and what might happen if she proved to be useless. A foreboding smile crossed Kalcion's face, sending shivers down Selena's spine. She had no chance to appreciate it. "If you want to leave this mountain alive, you will have to prove your usefulness. Otherwise, you're free to find your own way," Kalcion threatened, emphasizing the danger of the mountain, which was inhabited by monsters. Selena understood that this was a treacherous area where death could come unexpectedly and without warning if Kalcion wasn't there to protect her. Chapter 2. Selena couldn't help but see Kalcion as a cold and heartless duke, but she knew better than to reveal her thoughts. With no other choice, she agreed to Kalcion's proposition, knowing that she had to survive and escape this dangerous place. In a rush to prove her usefulness, Selena approached the situation as if she were appealing to a public audience, striving to survive above all else. To her surprise, Kalcion showed a flicker of interest when she mentioned her talent for acting. Selena proposed that she could become a world-class actress, skilled in various roles. Kalcion's interest was piqued, and he instructed her to demonstrate her acting abilities. Folding his arms, he stared at Selena with a serious gaze, indicating that she should portray a villainous character. Although Selena expected further explanations, Kalcion remained silent, his eyes silently threatening her to comply or face dire consequences. Calmly and without panic, Selena slipped into character, discarding her earlier expression of desperation. With her mouth wide open and her eyes filled with intensity, she delivered her lines, challenging Kalcion's authority and refusing to listen to him just because he had saved her. Caught off guard by Selena's act, Kalcion's reaction was not what she had anticipated. Something pricked Selena's stomach, wondering if Kalcion would accept her performance with a smile. Luckily, he wasn't disappointed, and Selena felt a sense of relief as her heart returned to its normal size. Her mouth no longer felt as stiff as before, and she exuded a more menacing aura befitting an antagonist. Selena rejoiced at the thought that her acting skills could still be useful in this new world, and might even save her life. Kalcion wasted no time and explained that if she could convincingly portray a villainous character, she would be suitable for the role of pretending to be his lover. However, he warned her that she would face numerous death threats. Dumbfounded and at a loss for words, Selena grappled with the overwhelming situation. Acting as Kalcion's lover seemed like a trivial matter compared to the looming threat of murder. She was already struggling to survive in this perilous world, and now she would be thrown into even greater danger. Connecting the dots, Selena realized that Kalcion must have enemies and trusted no one. Desperate for answers, she asked him what she would gain from taking on this job. Selena firmly believed in not working for free, no matter how scared or disadvantaged she was. This was a motto she lived by. However, Kalcion nonchalantly stated that the price for her life was the only remuneration she would receive. Selena's face turned pale, and she tried to convince him that she should be compensated for her loyalty and cooperation. In response, Kalcion offered Selena the luxury of residing in a castle where all her desires would be fulfilled, attended to by maids who would cater to her every need. Selena's eyes lit up with relief as Kalcion continued, giving her a glimmer of hope that she might be able to return to her previous life. Kalcion's final reward took Selena by surprise. She had never thought such a possibility existed. Her heart pounded with excitement. The Lenberg territory was situated in the dangerous and monster-filled northern region, beyond which only a great sorcerer had managed to cross dimensions. This was a motivation Selena couldn't ignore. With no work, memories, friends, or family in this world, it offered her hope. Happily, Selena agreed to the contract proposed by Duke Kalcion, despite the risks involved. Kalcion smiled at her agreement. This would be a two-person operation, a rare situation where he ventured into an operation himself. Together, they descended the mountain and arrived at the city walls. The group of knights stood waiting in front of the imposing wall, their eyes widening as they noticed Duke Kalcion approaching with a short woman in tow. Confusion filled their faces as they tried to comprehend how someone could have crossed the walls built to keep the mountain beasts at bay. One knight offered to separate Selena from Kalcion's grip, but the Duke adamantly refused, his nervousness betraying his usual composed demeanor. Dion, a gray-haired knight, stared at Kalcion with widened eyes, not easily flustered. It was expected that the decisive and seemingly heartless Duke would remain unruffled. Before they retreated, Selena proposed the need for a plan, emphasizing the importance of perfection in their operation. As an actress, she knew that immersing herself in her character was crucial. Forgetting momentarily about Kalcion's cruelty, she expressed her desire for a background story. Kalcion, not having considered this aspect, saw the value in creating a cover that would prevent people from growing suspicious about Selena's origin from another world. Together, they concocted a tale of Kalcion saving Selena from imminent danger and falling in love with her beauty at first sight. Selena skillfully hinted at their intentions, subtly weaving the narrative into the crowd's perception. Chapter 3. Selena realized that she needed to take action in order to make Kalcion connect the dots and understand their situation. With Kalcion's arm wrapped around her in the cloak, serving as a cover for her peculiar attire, Selena scratched her chin and glanced at Kalcion's unyielding face. Meeting his gaze, she saw his stoic expression remaining unchanged. It became apparent to Selena that Kalcion was emotionally dense, devoid of feelings, and terrifying, even when attempting to express different emotions. The Duke had never encountered a situation like this before and appeared weary. They needed to create a scenario where they appeared deeply in love with each other in order to deceive others. Contemplating their options, Selena proposed a new strategy. She suggested that instead of relying on Kalcion's rigid expressions, she would seduce him as part of their act. It would be a pretense, a way for Kalcion to immerse himself in his role. Selena declared that she would go into the forest and seduce the Duke, and without much thought, he accepted the plan, understanding the scenario to be that of Selena relentlessly pursuing him. Kalcion had no choice but to agree. Selena emphasized that Kalcion should play the role of being instantly smitten by her, adding more impact to the story and reducing suspicions. She further suggested that Kalcion should simply agree to whatever she said, allowing her to lead the conversations. This would convey the image that he was deeply in love with her, as others would see it. However, Selena realized that Kalcion remained clueless about love and took things literally. Frustrated, she agonized over how to make him understand. She wanted to instill that intense feeling of love within Kalcion, but he remained oblivious. Despite numerous trials and errors, the progress was minimal according to Selena's standards. It was as if she was speaking a foreign language that he couldn't comprehend. Selena almost cursed in her frustration, but she restrained herself, knowing that her life was at stake. She pushed herself to the limit, willing to do anything to make their act convincing. Kalcion, on the other hand, remained frozen and stiff even as the time for their performance was nearing. Selena whispered coded language, attempting to persuade Kalcion, but the knights noticed and found it rude. Before the situation escalated further, Kalcion interrupted and prepared himself for the upcoming act. Selena could only hope for the best as they moved forward, knowing that their special training would soon be put to the test. Chapter 4. Kalcion finally managed to utter the words, "I'll carry her." Duke Kalcion, who had always felt uncomfortable sitting face to face with a woman, found himself in a different situation today. Dion, one of the knights, had never witnessed the Duke's possessiveness before, and Selena praised Kalcion for this small achievement. The gossip began to spread among the other knights, but Kalcion remained silent. Despite the terrible acting, it seemed to have worked. However, there were still many tasks ahead for Kalcion. Selena's admiration for the castle she would be living in prompted her to suggest that they continue their planned discussion. She questioned why she had to act as a villainous character, and Kalcion explained the story of his previous fiancée, who was known to be a tyrant. Selena apologized for touching on a sensitive topic, but Kalcion responded indifferently. He was angered by the audacity of someone assassinating his ex-fiancée in his own castle. Their engagement had been a political arrangement, devoid of love, solely to safeguard the gold mines in his territory. Unfortunately, she died, leaving behind a young and wealthy northern duke. It seemed that there were people lurking in the shadows with other plans, leading to her assassination. The investigation concluded it as suicide, but Kalcion knew the wounds were disguised as such. Despite this, the Baroness's father remained silent and didn't question the results. While they were discussing, a servant knocked on the door, interrupting their conversation. Selena and Kalcion exchanged glances, realizing they needed to hide Selena's outfit to conceal her secret. In that moment, an idea flashed through Selena's mind, a golden opportunity. She cunningly smiled, seeing the potential in this situation. The confused maid outside wondered why there was no response. The atmosphere in the room, once filled with a sense of crisis, had shifted. Selena reassured Kalcion, and he focused his attention on her as she slowly rose from her seat, taking a deep breath. It was time to act. Suddenly, Selena's voice reverberated loudly throughout the castle halls. She screamed, making sure everyone outside the room could hear. It was as if she was throwing a tantrum at Duke Kalcion, expressing her reluctance to have servants assist her in taking a bath and implying that the maids would join her. Selena had begun her acting career, captivating the audience as if she were on stage. Though Kalcion knew it was all an act, he replied casually, playing along. The servants outside the door were embarrassed but faithfully followed Kalcion's orders. Selena could hear them scurrying away. Once the sound of footsteps faded, Selena asked Kalcion where the bathroom was so that she could take a bath alone. As Selena entered the bathroom and opened the door, she was amazed by its grandeur and spaciousness. She changed into a bathrobe to prepare for her bath. Selena then asked Kalcion to rip her old clothes, ensuring that all evidence was completely eradicated. As Kalcion turned around and caught sight of Selena in her bathrobe, she understood that he wasn't looking at her body romantically. Nonetheless, she found his bashfulness endearing. The garment ripped with a sound, and in an instant, Kalcion's eyes grew fierce, as if targeting a beast. He instructed Selena to keep quiet and turned his gaze towards the door connected to the corridor. Nervously, Selena followed his lead, sensing that there might be a spy. Though Selena hadn't heard anything, she had no choice but to trust Kalcion. His presence reassured her as he appeared unconcerned. Curious, Selena asked Kalcion what he usually did with spies. Kalcion responded indifferently, saying he usually killed them. While Selena had grown accustomed to such violence, she was reluctant to witness any more deaths. Instead, she proposed using the spy to spread rumors, considering that the spy was likely one of the servants in the castle. Kalcion agreed with Selena's suggestion, though he couldn't help but acknowledge his atrocious acting skills. Selena frowned, pushing his chest, surprising Kalcion. However, Selena remained calm. She had done this act once or twice before. Responding in a professional manner, Selena emphasized the need to swiftly set up the situation before returning. Kalcion was bewildered. The title of a cold-blooded northern duke momentarily lost its significance, as he was pulled down by Selena, willingly going along with her act. The beginning was intense enough to captivate everyone's attention. Outside the door, Selena could sense a sudden surprise in the air. Even Kalcion was taken aback, sensing that the play had already begun on his behalf. Chapter 5. Caught off guard, Kalcion was suddenly pulled down by Selena. She told him that he should leave this to a professional, referring to herself. Sounds of clothes ripping, accompanied by screaming, gasping, and moaning filled the room, creating a peculiar atmosphere. The awkward sounds continued for a while, intensifying and capturing everyone's attention. Selena's performance was overwhelming. She skillfully shouted words of pleasure while Kalcion hastily tore the clothes without a second thought. After such an embarrassing act, Kalcion could only feel ashamed and nervously swallow. To outsiders, it would sound like a charming woman grumbling and a violent duke silently coveting her body. It was Selena's solo stage act. They quickly wrapped up everything and decided to call the maids. The maid who opened the door was startled by the scene inside the room. It was simply unbelievable to others that such a stern and rigid person would actually bring a woman and openly engage in sensual activities. Duke Kalcion's out-of-character actions quickly spread throughout the mansion. Despite the maid's efforts to act normal, it was clear that something unusual had happened. Kalcion retreated to his study room while Selena went into the bathroom. Kalcion felt incredibly embarrassed, trying to act as if nothing had occurred. It took some time for Selena to dry her hair, apply perfume, and fix her nails. When Selena emerged, dressed stunningly and adorned with jewelry, the maid's eyes sparkled with pride. It seemed they had discovered the beauty that was hidden within their midst. It turned out that another maid named Jeanette had recommended this outfit, which happened to belong to Kalcion's mother. Selena felt it might be inappropriate and decided to consult Kalcion about it. Without knocking, Selena forcefully opened the door and entered the room. Selena rushed to him and hugged him tightly by the neck. Kalcion, trapped in her embrace, suddenly stiffened. This was the best way Selena could think of to silence Kalcion and calm the situation. Truthfully, Selena was tired and just wanted to eat and rest. She understood that Jeanette had used her influence, and she also noticed that Kalcion was dissatisfied with the dress. However, she didn't want him to punish any of his servants now. Her arms remained around his neck, and when she lightly scratched his back with her nails, Kalcion hastily nodded. Jeanette arrived and stood among the maids while offering her apologies for the mistake. There was no need to pretend to be gentle in front of anyone. This man was hers, and everyone, including Jeanette, should know it. Surprisingly, Kalcion spoke calmly, surprising Selena with his leniency towards Jeanette. As Jeanette bowed and exited the room, Selena observed her closely. Despite only meeting Jeanette for the first time, Selena sensed ill intentions and a hint of malice directed towards her. Afterward, Kalcion introduced Dion, the head of the knights, to Selena. He also revealed the plan to pretend to be lovers. Selena didn't mind the plan, as long as it served the operation. Without it, Dion would have suspected that Kalcion was genuinely interested in Selena. Dion was the only one who believed that Selena truly had feelings for Kalcion, so he suspected her acting to be authentic. However, Selena denied the accusation, stating that she would never develop romantic feelings for Kalcion. She emphasized that she was merely a being from another dimension who wanted to return to her own world. Selena also added that Kalcion wasn't the gentle and kind type that she preferred. As Selena continued her explanation, her focus was on bending the perception of injustice. She concluded that if even Kalcion's closest ally, Dion, couldn't distinguish whether her acting was real or not, then she was doing a good job. There would be no signs or indications when Selena acted, and they needed to go with the flow. Once the briefing was finished, Dion left the room, and all the maids were told to leave as well as Kalcion had something to discuss with Selena. He warned her about the possibility of a spy lurking anywhere, advising her to be cautious at all times. Selena had always been aware of the potential for spying due to her previous high-profile life. Kalcion's second warning was to not act when they were alone together. However, Selena refused. She believed it would be better if Kalcion grew accustomed to her acting on a daily basis. Despite feeling a twinge of pain at her disagreement, Kalcion had to focus on more pressing matters. Selena's presence had already started to impact the people around Kalcion, causing them to act differently. Acknowledging this, Kalcion knew that Selena's presence would reveal things that he could never see with his own eyes. Selena also inquired about the people she should watch out for, and Kalcion vaguely mentioned someone who made him sick and annoyed. When they were around, Selena became curious about who could bother Kalcion so much. Was it a fierce lady known for her violent behavior or a cunning noblewoman recognized for her devious schemes? The next day arrived, and a loud voice calling Kalcion echoed throughout the residence. Selena would finally meet the person Kalcion had been talking about. A petite woman pushed her way through the servants. It was Infernal, dressed in a bright pink frilled garment that accentuated her vibrant hair. She was the first suspect that Selena would encounter. Chapter 6. Selena was taken aback by the presence of Infernal, a woman who appeared overly cheerful but may hide a venomous personality. Unlike a fiery or crafty lady, Infernal was straightforward and aggressively pushed her affections towards Kalcion. Selena couldn't help but feel shocked by this noisy and unexpected woman. Infernal started chattering non-stop as soon as she approached Kalcion. Her joyful and loud personality amplified her clinginess towards him, causing Kalcion to sigh in exasperation. The most suspicious thing was how quickly Infernal appeared in Kalcion's life. Just a month after his ex-fiancée was killed, it seemed like Infernal had her eyes set on taking the empty seat next to Kalcion. But why would anyone be willing to become Kalcion's fiancé when it meant risking their life? Infernal was no exception. Selena couldn't help but suspect Infernal as a potential murderer. Perhaps she had ordered someone to carry out the killing, considering her confidence. However, this didn't necessarily mean that Infernal had performed the act herself. She could have orchestrated the murder from behind the scenes. Selena remained cautious of Infernal, the first potential killer. Kalcion also tried to avoid her as much as possible, but Infernal's persistence was relentless. She wanted to comfort Kalcion for the loss of his ex-fiancée. After a moment of silence, Duke Kalcion glanced at the intruder and turned around. Walking away, Selena followed suit, but Infernal's whining continued as she tried to keep up with their pace. Determined to escape her, Kalcion and Selena quickened their pace, but Infernal still managed to catch up. Selena grew tired along the way, and Infernal took the opportunity to criticize her. Despite Kalcion's continuous rejections, Infernal remained unyielding. One rejection meant nothing to her. On the surface, Infernal appeared as a clingy noble lady head over heels for Kalcion, but her true colors were starting to show. Selena met Infernal's intense gaze, armed with thorns in her eyes. Smirking, Selena, who was pretty on the outside but harsh on the inside, buried her face into one side of Kalcion's chest and began acting cute. She bent her words to emphasize her ego and took the psychological battle to another level. Purring like a cat and rubbing her cheeks against Kalcion's arm, Selena engaged in an easy and childish battle of wits. Infernal's eyes flashed intensely as she encountered a skill similar to her own. Gripping her dress tightly, with trembling fists, Infernal got closer to Kalcion. Observing all their expressions, Kalcion, who had endured the situation, finally fled, dragging Selena away with him. As they distanced themselves, Selena turned back and stuck her tongue out at Infernal, mocking her victory in the battle. However, instead of a defeated opponent, an angry voice was heard. It seemed like the Duke had abandoned the child and ran away as soon as Infernal disappeared from their view. Simultaneously sighing in relief, Selena and Kalcion realized that Infernal was a stubborn opponent. Selena concluded that she didn't expect to encounter such a formidable player. Right from the beginning of this game, Fonel, the daughter of a count, proved to be a tiring person for Selena to deal with on a daily basis. Duke Kalcion acknowledged that while Fonel was unique, Selena would encounter even more unique and eccentric individuals as she entered noble society. Understanding the challenges that lay ahead, Kalcion agreed to Selena's request to renegotiate the terms of their contract, albeit jokingly demanding 100 times more privileges. Deep down, Selena knew that she would be facing more trouble from now on, and wanted to be compensated accordingly. Entering the noble society meant facing stifling rules and regulations, where even peripheral dukes were not truly free. Selena understood that she had to strengthen her position and take careful steps in the midst of being perceived as the weakest in order to find the criminal. A single misstep could lead to death, so she had to exercise extreme caution. Overthinking the challenges ahead, Selena lost her appetite. She watched Kalcion eating, and suddenly came up with an idea. Calling out to Duke Kalcion, she presented her foolish idea and playfully asked him to let her have a bite of his food. Bored and wanting to flirt with Kalcion, Selena smiled craftily at him. Shifting her chair and requesting his assistance, she continued to test his patience. She ordered Kalcion to cut the meat into bite-sized pieces and even signaled for him to feed her. Smiling and acting cute, Selena opened her mouth like a baby bird, causing a strange pressure to build up in Kalcion's chest. Unbeknownst to them, the servants in the castle silently observed their interactions. Kalcion, struggling to maintain his composure, convinced himself that this wasn't a difficult task, just something he wasn't accustomed to. He carefully prepared the food and handed it to Selena. Selena, still playful, eagerly snapped at the fork and enjoyed the food. It seemed that her appetite had returned, and she appeared satisfied with just one bite. She then began ordering sweets, while Kalcion couldn't help but feel a warm sensation spreading to his earlobes as he gazed at Selena. Chapter 7. Kalcion set down the table he was holding, lacking the courage to continue eating with the same fork. Selena, now feeling dejected and confused, couldn't understand why. Kalcion hastily fled to his office. She contemplated following him, but sensing that he desired solitude, she refrained from doing so. Both Selena and Kalcion knew no more about the assassination than the other, so Selena decided to focus on teaching emotions to Kalcion. Suddenly, an idea struck her, and she asked a maid about Kalcion's whereabouts. Kalcion, already dressed in different clothes, heard a knock on the window. To his surprise, Selena stood outside, holding a bouquet of flowers. Selena smiled, thinking of it as a cliched gesture consistent with her unpredictable nature. Kalcion sighed and allowed Selena to enter the room. Selena jumped, expecting Kalcion to catch her, but their actions were not synchronized for a cliched affectionate scene. Selena landed by herself while Kalcion still had his arms wide open. It was awkward and amusing for both of them. Selena tried to brush it off, claiming she was a capable woman worth falling for. Kalcion stated that falling in love was not part of their contract, but Selena reasoned that she was merely trying to teach Kalcion how to act in love. Selena realized that joking wouldn't work on Kalcion. Although he nagged, he still accepted her bouquet of flowers as a gift. Kalcion also conceded that Selena always had the last say in their arguments. Feeling bored once again, Selena expressed her desire to stay in the room. It was understandable, considering that having fun in her original world was on another level. After sighing briefly, Kalcion permitted Selena to remain in the room and returned to his desk. The sound of rustling documents and scribbling filled the room. Selena decided to keep quiet upon noticing Kalcion's annoyed expression. She laid herself on the sofa and engaged in a subtle conversation with Kalcion. It had been a tiring day for her, but at least her efforts were being recognized and praised. The warm afternoon sun and comfortable sofa contributed to the peaceful atmosphere, which continued until the sun set. As Selena opened her eyes, she was greeted by darkness. Nighttime had arrived. She stretched and rose from the sofa, only to find the office empty. Kalcion was nowhere to be found. Curious, Selena decided to explore the training grounds to exercise. She stepped outside and approached a maid to inquire about Kalcion's whereabouts. However, the maid ignored her and instead scrutinized her from top to bottom. Eventually, the maid indifferently provided a response, mentioning that Kalcion was at the training ground. Selena found this behavior rude and decided to teach the maid a lesson. She gave the maid a menacing look to intimidate her a bit, and asked again. Fearfully, the maid offered more specific directions. Afterward, Selena realized that this mistreatment might have also happened to Errol, Kalcion's deceased fiancé. It seemed that people around Duke Kalcion had little respect for his loved ones. Selena made a mental note to address this issue later on, but for now, she focused on finding Kalcion at the training grounds. As soon as Selena admitted being lost, she halted her steps, afraid that continuing might worsen her situation. Suddenly, she heard a rustling sound emanating from somewhere nearby. Startled, she exclaimed as a figure jumped out from the bushes. It was Infernal, a short woman whose dress was in tatters and covered with leaves. Infernal, too, seemed surprised to encounter Selena out of nowhere. Initially mistaking Infernal for an assassin, Selena breathed a sigh of relief upon realizing her mistake. Infernal addressed Selena informally, and undeterred, Selena chuckled at Infernal's disheveled appearance, suggesting that seeing her in such a state might turn Kalcion off. It became evident that Infernal had been wandering aimlessly, unlike Selena, who had intended to exercise. However, Infernal appeared determined to find Kalcion. Selena engaged in a verbal battle with her, exchanging barbs and warnings. In the midst of their trivial skirmish, Selena momentarily forgot that Infernal was one of the suspects implicated in the murder of Kalcion's ex-fiancé. As she continued to provoke Infernal, Infernal refused to back down and began ridiculing Selena, emphasizing her commoner status. Though it felt like a petty fight, victory seemed important. Infernal clenched her teeth and gave Selena a warning look, indicating her determination. Selena momentarily forgot that Infernal was a potential killer amidst their banter. Furious, Infernal breathed heavily and called out Selena's name. Infernal questioned whether Selena was wealthy or had a powerful backer, speaking in a cold voice that surpassed the chill of the wind around them. Infernal warned Selena that if she continued acting arrogantly, she would meet her demise. In a subdued tone, Infernal made it clear that she was serious this time, offering a threat that transcended their previous trivial squabbles. Selena swallowed a dry lump in her throat. She knew she had to respond, but the words eluded her. Alone with Infernal, and with the possibility of Infernal being the true culprit, Selena found herself in a precarious situation. Chapter 8. Infernal continued her menacing tone, attempting to intimidate Selena into giving up on Kalcion. As Infernal's threats persisted, Selena's fear grew. They were in the middle of the garden, with no one else around except the two of them. Selena possessed the capability to defend herself with her bare hands, but the thought of Infernal concealing a knife or the presence of an associated assassin lurking nearby unsettled her. Despite Infernal's apparent weakness, the situation could change dramatically if she revealed her true colors. Selena understood the gravity of the risk she was taking. Realizing that her life was in danger, she contemplated the possibility of losing her life so abruptly without even realizing it. Infernal, the primary suspect in the murder of Kalcion's ex-fiancé, now posed a serious threat to Selena's life. Her demeanor had shifted from cheerful to serious, creating a sense of unease in Selena, who found herself alone with Infernal in the vast castle garden. The threat Infernal posed was different from their previous confrontations, extending beyond mere verbal clashes. It was a chilling prediction that Selena could meet the same fate as those who had already perished. As Selena stood in the midst of the garden, she realized the difficulty of escaping if Infernal were indeed the murderer. Lost and unfamiliar with the surroundings, Selena knew she was physically stronger than Infernal, thanks to her workouts and larger build. However, she remained wary of external factors. Infernal could be concealing a knife or have someone waiting to ambush her on command. Selena couldn't fathom having to flee from Infernal, given her seemingly innocent nature towards Kalcion. Recalling the spy incident in the bathroom, Selena understood that anyone could be anywhere in this place. She mentally prepared herself for the worst-case scenario, having to run for her life while defending against possible attacks not only from Infernal, but also from hidden adversaries. If she managed to escape, Infernal wouldn't be able to pursue her. Just as Selena had resolved to take action, footsteps approached from behind, startling her. She turned to face the source of the sound and found Kalcion standing there. His arrival in the nick of time brought a wave of relief over Selena, allowing her to escape the tense situation. Seizing the opportunity amidst the crisis, Selena exclaimed in gratitude and swiftly ran into Kalcion's awaiting arms. Selena, feeling a mix of relief and frustration, began scolding Kalcion intimately for leaving her alone and causing her such fear. Uncertain of whether she was genuinely acting or not, Selena clung to Kalcion, seeking comfort and support. However, Kalcion didn't actively embrace her or push her away. Instead, he shifted his gaze towards Fionel. Raising an eyebrow, Kalcion directed his attention to Fionel and inquired about the situation. Fionel grew nervous under his cold gaze and avoided eye contact. Meanwhile, Selena, still sticking to Kalcion like glue, tried to calm herself with his presence. She found solace in his familiar scent and sighed in relief, grateful to have someone reliable by her side. Once Selena had regained her composure, she formulated a plan for counter-attacking. Clearing her throat, she adjusted her voice, preparing to play her mischievous revenge on Fionel. This time, Selena adopted a cute and playful demeanor, deliberately distorting her pronunciation. She claimed that Fionel had threatened her, provoking a shrill response from Fionel, who immediately returned to her lovable and cutesy act, seemingly trying to outshine Selena. Their exchange became a battle of wits, each trying to outdo the other, and it continued for a while until they both grew exhausted. In the midst of their childish quarrel, Duke Kalcion had become exasperated and was rendered helpless, his ears practically bleeding from the cringe-worthy and annoying voices. Selena, realizing that she had no choice but to resort to her ultimate move to make persistent Fionel admit defeat, gestured to Kalcion, signaling her plan. As Kalcion listened to the ongoing drama, he had no idea what Selena was trying to do. Suddenly, Selena seized Kalcion by the neck and wrapped her arms around it, declaring it her trump card. With Kalcion on her side, she planned to make Fionel jealous by engaging in intimate acts with him, right in Fionel's sight but out of her reach. Kalcion, understanding Selena's intentions, played along and carried her in his arms. Jealousy filled Fionel's eyes, but Kalcion remained resolute. He insisted that Fionel retire to her own room without providing any further explanation. With determination, Kalcion led the way to his room, carrying Selena in his arms. Of course, Selena couldn't resist sticking her tongue out to tease Fionel, relishing in her victory. Lady Fionel could only curse under her breath, vowing to get back at Selena in the future. Upon arriving in Kalcion's room, Selena recounted the events to him. She mentioned Fionel's comment about someone already being dead, expressing her confusion and concern. Kalcion's eyes widened upon hearing her words, and he responded in a low voice. Selena revealed to Kalcion that she believed Fionel truly intended to kill her, even if she may have hesitated in the moment. From Selena's perspective, she stressed that she was stronger than Fionel, having grown up in a different environment. However, Kalcion disagreed, asserting that both of them were small in his eyes. He acknowledged the possibility that Fionel might have a concealed weapon or someone to carry out her plans. As Selena continued to voice her complaints and analyze the situation, Kalcion listened attentively. He recognized the need to prepare for similar incidents in the future, ensuring their readiness as much as possible. Out of nowhere, Kalcion praised Selena for her performance. Selena fell into an awkward silence, as it was rare for Kalcion to express warm approval towards anyone. But she quickly regained her composure, realizing that expecting comfort from the dense Duke would be futile. She offered a bitter smile and reminded Kalcion to ensure she was adequately compensated. Kalcion agreed, recognizing the importance of having Selena by his side to deceive his enemies and set traps. With their conversation coming to an end, Selena bid farewell to Kalcion but suddenly remembered something. Curious, Kalcion asked if there was anything else she wanted to say. Selena explained that it would be suspicious if she were to leave Kalcion's room immediately after their pretense of being lovers. To maintain the illusion, Selena suggested that they sleep together. Their eyes met awkwardly, and Kalcion hesitated, unsure about allowing a woman to sleep alone with him. Chapter 9. Selena entered the Duke's bedroom, expressing her fear of Fionel and her reluctance to sleep in her own room, as it would raise suspicions if Fionel found out. They both froze for a moment, contemplating the situation, until they were interrupted by the arrival of the servants who understood the predicament. Selena was prepared to go to sleep, knowing that minimal preparation was required based on her experiences in her original world. However, the servants attended to her, insisting on helping her bathe and providing her with clothes. Selena grew exasperated, as the servants seemed to be exaggerating and misunderstood the situation. To her dismay, the maids presented Selena with a see-through evening dress meant for seduction. Despite Selena's refusal, the maids persistently tried to persuade her to wear it, mistakenly assuming that Kalcion and Selena would be sleeping together in a romantic manner, given their supposed status as lovers. Some of the maids were nosy and continued to pry and gossip with Selena during their conversation. Selena could only force a bitter smile, realizing that she couldn't reveal the truth about her pretense of being in a relationship with Kalcion. It became a headache for her to justify herself to the maids, who seemed to exaggerate her words even further. Exhausted from her attempts, Selena gave up and decided it might be better for the maids to have their own exaggerated beliefs, as it would draw less suspicion toward her origins. Instead, she changed her approach and suggested that it shouldn't be the first time for Duke Kalcion to sleep with a woman. However, one of the maids disagreed, leading Selena to believe that Kalcion, being a handsome man with wealth, would have women willingly throwing themselves at him. The maids explained that it wasn't the case at all. They described Kalcion as someone with poor interpersonal skills and a cold personality, which made most women stay away from him, with the exception of a few, like infernal. Moreover, they revealed that Kalcion had no interest in love and would rather focus on slaying monsters. Understanding that the situation was unavoidable, Selena convinced the maids to prepare a normal sleeping dress for her, assuring them that she would return to Kalcion's room. It would appear strange if the servants found them sleeping in separate places the following morning. With the matter settled, Selena retired to her temporary sleeping quarters, wearing a more suitable attire, ready to spend the night in Kalcion's room. As Selena entered the Duke's bedroom, she was astonished by what she saw. Kalcion was lying in bed, surrounded by flowers, with a rose in his mouth and a glass of wine in his hand. The dense Duke had no idea and was simply following the servant's instructions. Selena couldn't help but burst into laughter. The romantic situation she had expected turned out to be hilariously funny. It seemed that Kalcion had no understanding of the other meaning behind sleeping together. Selena wondered if he even knew about it, considering his innocent demeanor. To confirm her suspicions, she asked Kalcion directly, which only made the situation even more comical. Kalcion ordered Selena to sleep instead of dwelling on such thoughts. Reluctantly, Selena started preparing herself to lie down in the bed. However, she found it difficult to fall asleep due to her nervousness. She also worried that Kalcion might have trouble sleeping with someone next to him. Trying to ease the tension, Selena struck up a conversation with Kalcion, asking how he usually slept. She was positioned on the right side of the bed. She continued pestering him until he grew annoyed and told her to sleep. Selena obediently lay back, knowing that Kalcion must be tired from carrying her and dealing with her all day. However, she found it hard to fall asleep, and her nerves got the better of her. She asked Kalcion if she could use an extra pillow, explaining that she liked hugging one while sleeping. This time, Kalcion responded and shared his observations. Selena explained that, while she was used to adjusting and sleeping in various shooting environments as a global actress, this was her first time being alone with a man in such an intimate setting. Kalcion's dry response didn't help alleviate Selena's nervousness. She found it surprising that her only concern was being in the Duke's bedroom, where there was only one bed, and Kalcion was a man. Selena attempted to lighten the mood by teasing Kalcion, suggesting that he sounded like a playboy. His flustered reaction caused him to sit up in bed, while Selena burst into laughter. Kalcion apologized for his comment about her first time, realizing it might have been rude. Selena let it go, understanding that he didn't fully comprehend a lady's preparations for bed. However, despite trying to forget the misunderstanding, Kalcion's serious expression still weighed on her. Selena sat up, and Kalcion praised her acting skills, stating that she had done so well that he felt like he was being seduced. It was an honest compliment, as Selena had always played her part except for when she was alone with him. She rolled over to the right side, smiling at his praise, but she tried to brush it off to avoid further awkwardness. Selena expressed her determination to do her best moving forward, and the atmosphere in the room became lighter. Before she could fully succumb to sleep, there was a moment of silence, followed by Selena's deep exhale as she drifted off. Kalcion rolled up the blankets and went to sleep as well. In the early hours of the morning, Selena groggily woke up. She had only wanted to wish Kalcion a good morning before going back to sleep. To her surprise, she felt an unfamiliar sensation against her skin. As she opened her eyes, she realized that instead of hugging a pillow, she was holding onto Kalcion. Her heart raced, and she quickly glanced at the sight that she should have never seen. Her habit of hugging a pillow had unwittingly changed to hugging Kalcion himself. Selena found herself holding the body of Duke Kalcion instead of the pillow, despite her initial anxiousness. The sensation felt strangely comforting, but she quickly snapped out of it and tried to free herself from his grasp, as if he were a lock. However, her attempts were futile as she met Kalcion's gaze. His eyes locked onto her. Instantly, heat rushed to Selena's face, coloring her cheeks crimson. Realizing her plan had failed, Selena hurriedly rolled over in the opposite direction, attempting to hide her embarrassment. But there was no use in pretending to sleep again, as Kalcion quickly pointed out that he knew she had already woken up. Selena sheepishly admitted defeat, stating that she should really sleep on the left side of the bed next time. Kalcion smiled in response and promised to keep it in mind. An announcement resonated throughout the castle, informing everyone that a noble lady named Rosalind was about to arrive. Selena and Kalcion were already waiting to welcome the new guest. Infernal, the daughter of a count, joined them, eager to participate in welcoming Lady Rosalind. Such gestures of honor and respect were customary when receiving nobility. Upon hearing of Rosalind's arrival, Infernal immediately ordered the maids to assist her in preparing her dress. After careful preparations, Infernal joined Selena, Kalcion, and the others to extend their warm welcome to Lady Rosalind. The occasion called for a grand and luxurious celebration, as they anticipated the arrival of both Infernal and Rosalind. Selena found it amusing how Kalcion seemed helpless against Infernal's clinginess. However, their attention quickly shifted as Rosalind arrived. As Rosalind gracefully descended the carriage steps, a delightful floral fragrance filled the air. Standing before Kalcion, her serene smile deepened, creating an illusion of an early spring. Yet, Selena couldn't help but feel a chill in the air, sensing the tension between Rosalind and Infernal. Rosalind greeted Kalcion with poise, and he reciprocated the greeting. Meanwhile, Infernal and Selena stood by his side, observing the interaction. Rosalind's gaze never wavered from Kalcion, and it was evident that Infernal's presence didn't go unnoticed. Infernal, filled with animosity, glared at Rosalind, while Rosalind returned the favor. Her smile masked a subtle hostility. Their exchange seemed reminiscent of encountering an old friend, but each word from Rosalind felt like a searing blade, laced with hidden meaning. Selena, understanding the veiled insults in their conversation, couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. She realized there was much to learn about the intricacies of noble conversation, especially the art of sarcasm, in which Infernal seemed proficient. Infernal, known for her fierce spirit, usually wouldn't back down from such confrontations, but this time she seemed to hold back for some unknown reason. Meanwhile, Rosalind appeared to take pleasure in the exchange, as she casually revealed her true motive for being there. Feigning concern for Infernal scoffed, turning her head dismissively. As the conversation continued, Lady Rosalind and Lady Infernal traded insults in a subtle and indirect manner, fueling their escalating dispute. Rosalind presented herself as the complete opposite of Infernal, leading them deeper into the argument. However, throughout their exchange, Rosalind never spared a glance towards Selena, as if she didn't want to bother acknowledging her presence. It was clear to Selena that Rosalind intentionally ignored her, treating her as someone beneath her notice. Infernal's expressions were always transparent and easy to read, but this time it was different. Selena observed Infernal closely and noticed the complexity of emotions playing on her face. It was evident that Rosalind held a higher status than Infernal, which made the situation even more challenging to decipher. However, for Selena, it wasn't as difficult. She looked up, gripping Kalcion's arm tightly, and directed her question to him, wanting to shield him from further inquiries. Kalcion's introduction did little to help the situation, so Selena took the lead and introduced herself, hoping to redirect the attention away from Kalcion. Rosalind's gaze naturally shifted to Selena, and she inquired about Selena's noble lineage. Selena boldly replied that it didn't matter, showing her defiance. Rosalind's reaction was tepid, though she maintained her smile, but her subsequent question was directed at Kalcion. Rosalind essentially insinuated that Selena was insignificant, not worth choosing. Kalcion tried to respond, but he was not adept at making excuses. Rosalind continued to ridicule Selena with her eloquent words, further belittling her. Selena frowned at being compared to a hunting dog by Rosalind, and she felt the need to fight back. With a slight upward curl of her lips, Selena responded, countering Rosalind's words while maintaining a sweet smile. Selena was determined to best Rosalind in this verbal game, asserting that she only needed to be beautiful while being with Kalcion. Rosalind's snarl betrayed her annoyance, though she quickly concealed it with a smile. She shifted her attention to Kalcion and requested breakfast. While Kalcion agreed, Rosalind had something else in mind. She pointed at Selena, indicating that she wanted to have a meal with her. Selena had no reason to refuse, and it felt as if she was attending a nobleman's party. Infernal seized the opportunity to be alone with Kalcion, acting friendly towards him. As Kalcion left with Infernal, the scene was left with Selena and Rosalind. Infernal, visibly irritated, walked through the corridor, shedding flowers from her hair. Selena found it amusing, Now that they were alone, Selena wondered how Rosalind would behave. She anticipated a soft and unknown gentle voice. However, before Selena could contemplate further, she was caught off guard. Rosalind suddenly kicked Selena, disregarding her own nobility. Selena's back collided with a pillar in the corridor, pushed by Rosalind's force. The impact reverberated through her entire body, and before Selena could utter a complete sentence, Rosalind's hand struck the wall beside her head. The honorifics involuntarily slipped out of Selena's mouth. Had it been Selena's head instead of the wall, there would have been a gaping hole in her skull by now. Rosalind questioned Selena, criticizing her for the unseemly look on her face. It was a striking blend of beauty and viciousness, with Rosalind's eyes and expression radiating an unsettling aura. Chaos ensued in Selena's mind as she tried to comprehend the situation. Rosalind repeated her question, inquiring about the cost for Selena to leave Duke Kalcion. Her implication was clear: Selena was only with Kalcion for his wealth, and Rosalind believed she could buy Selena off. The shift in Rosalind's tone and attitude left Selena wondering if there was a hidden switch that triggered such changes. Selena retorted, asserting that she wasn't after Kalcion's wealth. Nevertheless, Rosalind persisted, asserting that Selena would still be benefiting financially from Kalcion. She challenged Selena to name her price, insinuating that even the largest sum in Selena's world would be inconsequential in theirs. Rosalind found it hard to believe Selena's claims. In this world, countless young ladies coveted the position of Duchess of Lenbert and the riches that came with being the Duke's partner. Selena played along with Rosalind's attitude, raising her chin haughtily. In truth, Selena didn't know how money was counted in this world, but she didn't see the need to familiarize herself with it. Panicking at Selena's unexpected response, Rosalind stumbled. She had never been in a situation where she had to negotiate before. Selena further strengthened her position and challenged Rosalind to buy 100 dresses identical to the one she was wearing. Selena believed her dress held exceptional value since Kalcion's mother had worn it. Rosalind's expression wavered once again, indicating that she was aware of the dress's significance. Selena didn't know the currency of this world, but she could sense the rarity of such a dress. However, Rosalind replied that she could afford it. Selena felt tempted by Rosalind's offer, but she reminded herself of Kalcion's promise to help her return to her own world safely. If it weren't for that hope, she might have accepted Rosalind's proposal. However, she couldn't back down in this situation and be honest with herself. Rosalind's anger was palpable, stirred by Selena's perceived greed and shamelessness. Selena paid no mind to it and continued to goad Rosalind, urging her to offer enough money for Selena to leave Kalcion. Rosalind's expression relaxed, seemingly confident that Selena wouldn't be able to refuse her. A grin appeared on Selena's face as she pondered her next move. Then, without hesitation, she declared that she wanted Duke Kalcion's heart. The surrounding temperature seemed to drop instantly by 10 degrees, and Rosalind's cold eyes chilled Selena to the bone. In a low voice, Rosalind responded, freezing the air around them. Undeterred, Selena calmly affirmed that she wasn't joking. Selena expressed her desire for everything, the position and the Duke's heart, and challenged Rosalind to match the price. Under her breath, Rosalind cursed, frustrated that Selena couldn't comprehend the gravity of the situation. Rosalind warned Selena about the dangers that come with coveting the position of the Duchess in the Lindbergh territory, where many would go to extreme lengths, even resorting to murder. Rosalind emphasized that Selena shouldn't even attempt to compete since she lacked power and wealth. However, Selena saw a different perspective in Rosalind's words. Why would Rosalind discourage Selena from competing while harboring her own desire for the position? Selena's expression hardened. This was the second time she had received a death threat. She suspected that neither of them was using empty words for intimidation. Selena had a hunch that Rosalind believed herself to be safe from assassination, either due to her own power or because she could be the murderer herself. Rosalind didn't seem to be targeting Kalcion in the end, which made her one of the prime suspects in the murder of Ariel, Kalcion's previous fiancé. Selena composed herself and responded that neither identity nor wealth mattered in such encounters for her. She turned the question back to Rosalind, questioning why she would still desire the Duchess position when she already had everything. Rosalind, however, insisted that there was something else she needed but didn't provide any further explanation. With a cold stare, Rosalind left Selena, releasing a heavy sigh. Selena's mind spun, unable to see through Rosalind's true motives. While Fonel's intentions seemed clear, to be with Kalcion because she genuinely liked Rosalind was an enigma. Selena couldn't decipher her true intentions, even though she was lingering around Kalcion. Selena was unable to grasp Rosalind's goals, but it was clear that her motives remained invisible. As time passed, evening arrived, and dinner was served as scheduled. The long dining table was adorned with a wide variety of dishes, enough to satisfy with just a single bite. Up until now, Selena had always dined alone, but in this new world, she found herself eating with others at a sumptuous feast to welcome Infernal and Rosalind, both of noble status. However, Selena was unfamiliar with the noble's table manners. Dozens of dishes adorned the table, each with its own specific way of being eaten. After a few moments of attempting to imitate the others, Selena gave up. It felt more embarrassing to clumsily mimic their manners. Instead, she ventured to choose dishes that seemed appealing, without copying the others. As Selena enjoyed her meal, her attention was drawn to the two women sitting across from her. They were donned in elaborate, extravagant dresses, and their gazes gradually shifted towards Selena as she took a bite of bread. Lady Rosalind took the opportunity to berate Selena for her lack of table etiquette. Selena glared back at her, but Rosalind went on to remark that Selena's eating manner resembled that of a beast from the mountains. Lady Rosalind smiled condescendingly, barely concealing her hostility towards Selena. Selena contemplated stirring up chaos like a beast but decided against it, considering they were surrounded by food. Rosalind's words continued to lengthen, disturbing the silence. At the table, she persisted in claiming that Selena was no different from a beast, much like Infernal's pet, due to her lack of proper dining manners. Infernal chimed in, setting her utensil down with a frown, and agreed with Rosalind, suggesting that Selena and her pet should eat separately since they were not the same. Essentially, they were comparing Selena to Infernal's pet and even to a beggar on the side of the road. Rosalind seized the opportunity to mock Selena, as it seemed that they were both united in insulting Selena. However, little did they know that Selena had already anticipated their predictable behavior. She smiled and fired back at Rosalind, informing her that if she were truly a beast, she would not be content with mere breadcrumbs. As Selena spoke, implying something beyond her words, she suddenly slammed her hand down and impaled a piece of meat on the table. Lady Rosalind was taken aback and a tinge of fear crossed her face. Undeterred, Selena continued, stating that she would much rather sink her teeth into Rosalind's neck, given her beastly nature. Holding the piece of meat with a smile that carried a hint of menace, Selena made her point. In that moment, had they truly been beasts, Selena and Rosalind may have lunged at each other, tearing one another apart. But this confrontation remained restrained, confined to their words and gestures at the table. Afterwards, Selena shifted her gaze towards the terrified Infernal and reassured her not to worry. She remarked that Infernal, being small and skinny, had nothing to fear as there was nothing substantial for Selena to eat. Selena continued to eat in her somewhat barbaric manner, showing no concern for the judgment of others. Inside, she chuckled at Infernal's genuine fear, finding it rather cute. Infernal, fierce but not highly combative, quietly curled up and rolled her eyes, realizing that this was not a place for herbivores. Like her, Lady Rosalind managed to regain her composure and resumed comparing Selena to a wild beast, this time focusing on Selena's physical appearance. However, Selena was not one to be underestimated. She immediately fought back, asserting herself. Although Infernal was a strong herbivore capable of defending herself even against wild beasts with her horns, she saw no need to intervene in the battle between these two wild beasts. Rosalind subtly hinted at the disbelief surrounding Kalcion's decision to choose Selena. Selena had initially thought that she could provoke Rosalind into acting less noble-like, but she soon realized she was mistaken. However, their squabble was abruptly interrupted by a voice that commanded everyone's attention. A big wave of silence washed over the room. It was Kalcion who spoke, declaring that Lady Rosalind was the princess of the Fireland Kingdom. Kalcion revealed that in the past, the Lenberd Kingdom had proposed a marriage alliance to Fireland before the discovery of the gold mines. However, Fireland had declined the proposal. Kalcion pointed out this historical fact, much to Rosalind's attempt to reason against it, but Kalcion remained unconvinced. Selena heard this information for the first time and found it amusing. Kalcion further stated that Rosalind's status was inconvenient for him and that he preferred slaying monsters over engaging in politics. He stared at Rosalind with unwavering eyes before calmly returning to his meal. He added that he felt more at ease with a wild beast, referring to Selena. As a result, Kalcion brought up facts that nobody else knew and launched a preemptive attack. Rosalind was left speechless. Selena couldn't help but grin and playfully pretended to be tactless, stating that she was compatible with Kalcion. She humorously claimed that an alliance had formed between the two of them to defeat Rosalind. However, her joke received no laughter except from Kalcion, who chuckled in amusement. Kalcion concluded by stating that he had no intentions of developing a closer relationship with Thiolan. Rosalind frowned, her momentum dampened, realizing that there was nothing else she could do to win. She swiftly changed the topic, bringing up her true purpose for coming there. She signaled to her servants, who were waiting, and they entered the room carrying a box filled with letters from nobles in the capital. Selena couldn't help but notice the displeasure on Kalcion's face. As the Lord of Lenberd territory, Kalcion had no choice but to handle these bureaucratic matters. Rosalind's white flag of defeat was, of course, a disguise to exact revenge on Kalcion through paperwork. Selena couldn't help but be amazed by the sheer number of letters presented before them. As time passed by, it grew late into the night. Kalcion had finished his work with the letters and was now seated on the sofa in front of the fireplace, engrossed in examining the contents of the box. Outside his room, the sounds of laughter and liveliness could be heard, emanating from Selena and the maids who were enjoying themselves. Finally, Selena entered Kalcion's room after some encouragement and a gentle push from the maids. Unconsciously, Kalcion lifted his head, his expression hardening as he caught sight of Selena. In an effort to control her flushed face, Selena tensed her facial muscles, trying to maintain her composure. She was wearing the nightdress that the maids had persistently recommended, despite her embarrassment. Selena explained to Kalcion that it was the maids who suggested the dress. However, Kalcion appeared indifferent to her explanation. His intense gaze, filled with heat, followed her every step. The nature of the garment exposed parts of her glowing skin as the fabric swayed. Selena believed she was the only one feeling embarrassed, so she tried to brush it off. Approaching him, she sat on the sofa next to Kalcion, her eyes dropping to the letters in the box. Selena had continuously refused to wear the enigmatic nightdress, but had no choice, fearing that the maids would become suspicious. As she turned her head towards Kalcion, she witnessed an unexpected sight, a different side of Kalcion that she had never seen before. To her surprise and embarrassment, Selena noticed Kalcion's slightly reddish earlobes. It seemed that he, too, was affected by the situation. This revelation caught Selena off guard, leaving her both embarrassed and intrigued by Kalcion's unexpected reaction. Selena starts to get nervous and starts to sweat unbearably, sensing the sensual attraction building up between them as Kalcion starts to avoid glancing at her body. Selena starts to feel as if it isn't the same Kalcion whom she knew in the beginning, as this way to explode is quite unfamiliar to the characteristics of Kalcion, who doesn't even glance at a woman with care and attraction. The situation gets deeper as time passes and both of them continue to sweat while sitting on the same couch beside each other. Kalcion keeps on trying his best to hide his face inside the letters that he was checking into. Selena felt the awkwardness between them building up, feeling the urge to change the subject so she can feel comfortable in the room once again. So she decides to start a conversation in the most frantic way possible at the moment. Without gazing at Kalcion, she started asking why Kalcion came forward today, as he once struggled against Infernal, but he acted very hard when it came to the matter of Rosalind. Not only that, but also, he backed up Selena in the last conversation they had at the dinner table, which was notable for everyone sitting at the table. Kalcion possibly thought that Rosalind is someone who is the easiest to deal with, even though it could be rude coming from him, as she still belongs to a high-status family compared to Infernal, which makes her quite untouchable. Selena assumes that the possibility of the family rejecting the proposal in the first place must have been the issue, to which Kalcion agrees without even thinking twice, as it is the only truth she deserves to hear. Kalcion remarks on the fact that his mother was a woman who was greedy for reputation, which made her want Kalcion to marry a central noble so he could get into the social world instead of ignoring the politics in it. But it was the most problematic topic that he wanted to avoid all these time. The fact that Lenberd's live on the frontier of the kingdom despite being filthy rich at the same time. The thought of living inside the life of politics seemed like a better idea to his mother, which made her feel like it would have been better if her son had a relationship with Thioland's most famous and beautiful daughter, but unfortunately, her plans failed quite abruptly, as the family of Rosalind thought that he would have been an incomparable person with her, the most problematic way. Selena praises his way of still reminiscing the facts that happened in the past and praised him for remembering to take revenge on Rosalind, while Kalcion claims that it is never easy for him to forget grudges, as it is the usual way of dealing with issues for him. Selena holds her face toward Kalcion, commenting that it might have been resentment instead of regrets, which flips Kalcion the worst way possible since she wasn't thinking of that kind of possibility. Kalcion lashes out, speaking why would Selena choose no other word instead, and has chosen regret, while Selena wonders to herself why Kalcion would be this mad all of a sudden, since it is not like him to react to such a small issue. But she presses on the situation, keeping the balance, reminiscing the fact that Rosalind was a famous and beautiful daughter, which raises the possibilities. Kalcion assumes that it was his mother's assessment of the situation, but Kalcion only thinks of Rosalind as an annoying woman because of her grave suspiciousness around people and the way she behaves with them. Selena agrees with his statement and senses the sensibility and the familiarity, as she has already experienced the horrifying side of Rosalind despite her pretending to be a kind noble, while she was quite strong and straight when she tried threatening her as they were alone. Kalcion gets curious after sensing the acknowledgement, which makes him question what kind of things she did to Selena which made her feel this way. Selena decides to reveal what actually happened behind the scenes, elaborating on the fact that Rosalind demanded her to actually know how much money she wanted to get away from Kalcion, starting from affording 100 dresses Selena was wearing, not knowing the value of the currency in this world. Selena tried her best to sway Rosalind from the statement. Selena notices that Kalcion is acting quite serious, as he has a confused look on his face, and when she confronts him about it, he makes the situation transparent, saying that the price of the dresses will be compared to Lenbert's budget of 20 years. After hearing the words coming out of Kalcion's mouth, she starts to feel like she might have made the worst decision of her life by not accepting the offer, as she loses her mind over it. Instead of giving in to her greed, Selena feels like she now has to accept the fact that maybe returning back to her own world is the best decision that she can make right now, and asks Kalcion about the position of the Duchess and curious to check out if it is valuable or not. But Kalcion feels that there is no specific need to do so when it comes to the topic of mines, even if Rosalind was targeting them from the beginning, as Thiolan is no less wealthy than the Lenbert. Selena remembers that Rosalind stated the same fact in the conversation, as she thought that she doesn't need any kind of money or power to get the position of the Duchess, as it remarked her quite gracefully. Curious, Selena makes a confusing glance at Kalcion, asking what the real reason behind the position might be, which catches Kalcion off guard, as he wasn't expecting to get asked this kind of question so suddenly. Selena takes quite some time to think what the reason might be, as she keeps on looking at the enigmatic aura all over Kalcion, thinking that it all might be the reason because he is so handsome, because of having a great face. Kalcion rejects the idea that it is possible, but when Selena starts talking about his body, he creates a sign of agreement with hand gestures, remarking on the possibilities, which feel like he is only being shameless according to Selena. They continue to joke around the whole thing for a bit, as Kalcion continues to search through the pile of letters to find out which one must be the most important one, and picks up one of them, which was written by Crown Prince Layson himself. Selena detects the importance inside Kalcion's eyes, and he claims that it is quite normal, since Layson is someone important and ambitious going for the throne, which makes him quite unignorable in the crowd, while he is typically the candidate among the imperial descendants. But to Layson, Lenbert is nothing but a place filled with annoyance, and he is quite wary of it from the beginning. On top of it, Lenbert nearly being at the level of an autonomous area makes it so hard for Layson to provide his influence in this sort of area. But the money and power make everything easier in the end, since they are enough for a country to live on. Kalcion, being a vassal at the same time, feels quite problematic, knowing that he cannot speak anything against it, while Selena wonders if she might be in a tough position if Layson starts to feel that she is someone suspicious. As the situation gets even tougher, Kalcion remarks on the fact, saying that he doesn't want to meet him, but despite his wishes, all of the families are invited to the 300th anniversary of the foundation of the country, which cannot be refused by him at any cost. Selena claims that if something is unavoidable, he should be trying to enjoy the whole event, as he will have to go to the capital to investigate the social world, which will be beneficial for him at the same time. Selena proclaims that she should be worried at the same time, since the investigation would have been easier for them if he did some good acting. But it only makes Kalcion cough as she finishes her sentence, doubting his own abilities. Selena notices the uncanny situation and raises herself from the seat, only to sit on the lap of Kalcion, who gets caught off guard by an unexpected affection. Selena then reveals her deary eyes to proclaim that she wants to visit the capital while swaying him the most noble way possible. But Kalcion starts to act frantically, feeling the abnormality of the situation. But Selena isn't about to let him escape unless he decides to make some amends. To boost his way of acting in front of people, Kalcion gulps down a lump through his throat and reminisces the fact that nobody can see them in the room. But Selena makes a comment saying he might have the trashiest way to act with someone when it comes to emotions and affection with her disappointed look. She doubts if he can be strong enough to deceive people properly, which makes it tougher for him, and the fact that he should practice regularly is quite noteworthy. Selena points out that she talked about going with him to only match the phrase, but he made a disappointment out of himself by not being able to act properly. They then reminisce on the fact that they will have to attend the event together in the capital anyways, and Selena remembers that it is their time to sleep since it is almost midnight. Selena decides to sleep on the bed while commenting that he should keep up with his work, promising to have a conversation the next day after waking up. Kalcion keeps on thinking while flustering on his own while being confused at the same time, feeling that he is about to go crazy considering everything that is happening to him.